Hey Gator fans, this is this weird week in between Christmas and New Year's. I hope you guys are all lounging on your couch, eating all the leftover food, and watching all the football. I want to thank BetUS for partnering with us on this video. And I want to talk about something that I found pretty interesting. Okay, so I know all the Miami fans are going to be in my mentions here, just like they are on X at the moment, but Mario Cristobal made the following statement after beating Florida State. Take a listen.
All recruits in-state, out-of-state can now clearly see the trajectory of this program versus the trajectory of the other programs.
Okay, so my favorite part of that may actually be the table pounding that he does there, for special effect. But the trajectory, okay, he's talking about the trajectory of Florida versus Florida State versus Miami. And what he's getting at is that everybody can see that Miami is trending up and nobody else can see that about Florida State or Florida. And I understand he won a big game. They had already beaten Florida. I am not in any way saying that wins don't matter. They do. But let's talk about this trajectory a little bit. So, yes, Miami finishes with 10 wins. This is a season that they were so overly excited about. They had a quarterback who was a potential Heisman candidate. They won more games than they've won in a long time. They still missed the ACC championship game. They were still on the outside looking into the playoffs, but they did finish with 10 wins. So, what was the trajectory for UF? Well, recruits saw Florida finish the season on a 4-game winning streak. That includes upset victories against Ole Miss and LSU. Florida essentially knocked both of those teams out of playoff contention by those upsets. And they were upsets. Florida was a dog in both of those games. All season long, when we were predicting Florida's wins and losses, most people didn't have Florida beating both LSU and Ole Miss on their game card. Then UF heads to Tallahassee in Doak Stadium. They beat Florida State by 20 in a game that was not for a single moment in question, right? The Gators' trajectory is trending up. You saw Scott Strickland come out and give a vote of confidence to Billy Napier, saying he is going to be the coach moving forward. After that happened, kind of a floodgate opened and recruits were committing left and right. Florida's recruiting class jumped from somewhere in the 50s to 11. I believe it's at 10 now that Dallas Wilson has committed to Florida and will be joining the Gators in January. So again, Miami, we talk about their trajectory. They had 10 wins, absolutely, but they lost 2 of their last 3 games to Georgia Tech and Syracuse. We saw Miami miss the ACC championship game and kind of waste their potentially Heisman candidate, Cam Ward, right? Like, this is the best quarterback Miami has had in as long as I can remember. And it got them 10 wins and not even to their conference championship game in probably the easiest Power 5 conference that there is, right? And again, when he said that, Florida State and UF were both recruiting 40s, 50s, and Miami was in the top 10. But things changed. UF finished 10th. They flipped multiple Miami recruits. Miami finished 14th. UF has their homegrown quarterback of the future. Miami wasted their 1-year rental at quarterback, and they have no idea who their starter will be next season. If you're talking about trajectory, you've got to like the way the Gators look right now. I'll get right back to the video, but first, let me give some love to BetUS. If you're betting on the playoffs or the bowl games, use our code YouTube150 at BetUS so you can get a 150% bonus on your very first deposit, 125% on your next 2 deposits. All of that up to $2,000. Thanks to BetUS for your support. Guys, go check them out. Now, all of that said, Miami's season may not have lived up to expectations, but I am absolutely not going to sit here and pretend that they didn't have a good year. I would take a 10-win season. And listen, obviously their schedule is trash compared to UF, but Miami won against both in-state rivals, Florida and Florida State. So they took care of business there. But this isn't about who had the better season. It's about who has the better trajectory. And that feels different right now than maybe it did when Mario Cristobal made that statement. And I think it's worth Miami fans kind of scratching their head about how they're in this position where they're kind of behind UF in recruiting and trajectory when they had the better season, right? And I am not one to celebrate recruiting wins over wins on the field. Absolutely not. I want the wins on the field. So Miami fans had a better season, and they rightfully should celebrate the fact that they had 10-win seasons, that they are the king of the state at the moment. They beat Florida State and they beat Florida. They took care of business there. But for the first time since both coaches have been at their new schools, UF out-recruited Miami despite getting blown out at home and losing more games than Miami. That is pretty telling. If I'm a Canes fan, I am a little concerned about that, right? How is this coach who won 7 games in the regular season, Florida won their bowl game, so 8 wins, how is he convincing recruits that Florida has the higher ceiling, that Florida has the higher trajectory? Miami had Cam Ward this year. Miami plays in the ACC, where getting to the ACC championship game is a lot easier than getting to the SEC championship game. It feels very much like if Miami was going to make a run, this was the year for it to happen. And it didn't, right? And now that it didn't, what is their path? What is their trajectory? I don't know. I'm interested to see what they do in the transfer portal this offseason. And how they potentially can change things around. And we play Miami again next year towards the beginning of the season, right? We head to South Florida. So we're going to get to see, not just, theorize what these trajectories look like. We're going to get to see who had the better trajectory on the field next year, right? But I'm really interested to see what Mario pulls together this offseason, because that statement he made back the week they beat Florida State doesn't seem to still be holding true today in the last week of December. I don't know, Gator fans. I love the way that Florida is trending. 8-5. I think that is a respectable season. It's obviously not where Gator fans want it to be. It's obviously not the standard, but it's an improvement from the year before. It's an improvement from 2 years before. Coach Napier has the team at the moment trending in the right direction. We have most of our contributors from last year, major contributors, are young guys that are coming back, right? This team is moving in the right direction. Recruiting is moving in the right direction. Will Napier be able to keep that momentum going and build on that on the field next year is going to be the question. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Got lots more Gator content coming your way. As always, make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss anything. Go Gators.